My name's Eli Vaughn, and this story starts in a town so small you can hear someone's reputation collapse before the dust even hits the floor. I'm 32 now. I live in a quiet suburb just outside Halston, an hour from the noise of Boston, but close enough to pretend you're still part of something big. I wake up every morning, grind fresh espresso beans like a ritual, listen to the weather report, and walk to the office I co-founded from a rented basement when I was 24. A biotech startup, cutting edge, grueling, almost impossible to explain to anyone who doesn't speak in gene markers in clinical trials. Which is basically everyone in my family. To them, I've always been the quiet one. The odd one. The one who wore beat-up sneakers to family brunches and couldn't be bothered to post vacation selfies. But my brother? Aiden? He's their golden son. 3 years older. Suave. Marketable. One of those guys who looks like a magazine ad no matter what lighting he's under. Works in finance. Dates socialites. Always knows the right wine to bring to dinner. Growing up, I didn't exist unless I was standing next to Aiden. Even then, I was just part of the backdrop. Oh, that's Eli. He works in tech or science or something. I was the blurry part of the family photo they cropped out before posting online. I used to tell myself it didn't matter. That if I worked harder, built something that couldn't be ignored, eventually they'd see me. Be proud of me. Maybe even love me for who I was. But that was before I made a call that broke something I didn't know could still break. It was late March. I had just closed a funding deal, $3.2 million locked in from a firm in Manhattan. The kind of win that makes you feel like you're finally getting somewhere after a decade of grinding in the shadows. I decided to fly home for my mom's birthday. Not to brag. Just to show up. Help decorate. Maybe light the candles like I always used to before the world turned cold between us. I called ahead. My dad answered. Hey, just wanted to let you know I'll be flying in a day early, I said. Thought I'd help set up for Mom's birthday. Anything you need me to grab on the way? Silence. Then a sigh. Eli, maybe it's better if you don't come this year. At first I thought I misheard him. Or maybe he meant because of work. Maybe they thought I'd be too busy. No, I've already cleared my schedule, I replied, trying to keep my voice light. I really want to be there. Another pause. Then he said it. Aiden's bringing someone. Her name's Camille. She's from a good family. Her dad's a former senator. It's important this goes smoothly. You showing up might complicate things. I felt my grip tighten on the phone. What does that mean? It means people ask questions, Eli. They compare. It gets awkward. I laughed, just a dry, stunned sound. Are you saying I shouldn't come because I make you uncomfortable? He didn't hesitate. I'm saying if you insist on showing up, don't call me your father. Click. No thunder. No cinematic music. Just silence. I stood in my kitchen, staring at my reflection in the microwave door, the espresso in my cup gone cold. That moment was quiet. But it was also the loudest ending I'd ever heard. That night, I sat in my favorite chair by the window, listening to wind rattle the gutters. The chill from that phone call never left me. It seeped into my bones, like truth finally getting honest with me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just reached for my laptop. Logged into my banking app. For 2.5 years, I'd been the invisible safety net behind that picture-perfect family. Covering their mortgage, their utilities, their car repairs, even the new fridge Aiden supposedly couldn't afford to help with. Almost $7,000 a month, month after month, without a single thanks. No questions. No hesitation. Just assumed responsibility. Because that's what you do when you're the capable one, right? That night, I canceled everything. Electricity. Internet. Insurance. Water. Gone. One click each. No warning. Just like they gave me none. They didn't bury me. They just forgot I was alive. Mom's birthday came and went. I didn't call. Didn't send flowers. Didn't post anything. At 5:06 p.m., the text started coming in. Mom, Eli, power's out. Can you check what's going on? We're expecting guests. Dad, no water. No internet. Fix it. I stared at the messages like they were from strangers. No, how are you? No, are you okay? Just orders. Like I was still their unpaid technician, their human ATM, their ghost son who wasn't good enough to be seen but perfectly reliable behind the scenes. Then Aiden texted me. Aiden, bro, whatever's going on, fix it fast. Camille's on her way. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder? I thought about sending a reply. Something sharp. Something that would crack through the plastic gloss of their perfect little world. Instead, I just stared at the glowing screen, then let it fade to black. I didn't need revenge. Not yet. But I did need peace. And then something happened that made everything shift. 3 days later, I got an email from HR. We were onboarding new regional hires. I was reviewing resumes for final approval. Finance division. One name stopped me cold. Aiden Prescott. Current role, Senior Financial Analyst. Transferring to Boston HQ. New reporting line, Eli Vaughn, CFO and co-founder. My hands went still on the mouse. Aiden. My brother. The one they'd cut me off for. The one I wasn't good enough to stand beside. Was about to report directly. To me. My mouth curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. More like recognition. No emails were sent. No warnings given. Because for once I didn't have to lift a finger. The wheel had already started to turn. The air in the building felt heavier that morning, thick with expectation. Or maybe that was just me. The elevator dinged at exactly 9 a.m. and the glass doors to my floor opened with a soft hiss. I was already sitting behind my desk. Sharp navy suit, black tie, nothing fancy but everything calculated. My team was scattered across the floor, eyes glued to screens, voices low in their usual Monday rhythm. No one knew what was about to happen except me. Then he walked in. Aiden Prescott in a tailored gray blazer and that perfect smirk he wore like cologne. His posture screamed confidence, like he already owned the room. Until he saw me. He stopped mid-step. Just froze. His eyes darted to the nameplate on my door, Eli Vaughn, co-founder Chief Financial Officer. He blinked once. Then again. And for the first time in my life, I watched my brother's face betray confusion. Eli, he said, his voice softer than I expected. What are you doing here? I didn't stand. Didn't blink. Didn't smile. Welcome to Asterisk Labs, I said calmly. I'm the one who approved your transfer. He didn't respond right away. You could almost hear the pieces in his head scrambling to make sense of it. I slid a folder across the desk. Your onboarding packet. We'll be reviewing quarterly budgets this afternoon. Be ready by 2. He didn't sit. Didn't take the folder. Just kept staring at me like I'd become something monstrous. Or magnificent. I leaned back in my chair, steepled my fingers, and asked the one question I knew would shatter what was left of his certainty. Did they never tell you what I do? He opened his mouth, then closed it again. No words. No excuses. Eventually he picked up the folder with a shaking hand and walked out. That afternoon he showed up to the meeting. Late. Flushed. Breathing like he'd sprinted up the stairs. He didn't look at me. Not once. But I saw the storm behind his eyes, rage, confusion, shame, all slamming into each other like a house of cards collapsing in reverse. He asked no questions. Took no notes. Afterwards I stayed behind, watching the room empty out one by one. My assistant lingered. Was that the new guy? She asked, barely hiding her curiosity. I nodded. She smirked. He looked like he saw a ghost. I smiled faintly. He probably did. That night I didn't sleep. Not because I was nervous. I was past that. But because I couldn't stop thinking about how easy it had all been. One transfer. One signature. One desk nameplate. And suddenly the brother who thought I was a nobody was reporting directly to me. And the best part? I didn't plan any of this. Life just handed it to me like a test I didn't even know I'd signed up for. The next morning the text started. Mom, Aiden's quiet lately. He said work's been intense. Any idea why? Dad, did you know your brother's new job is at your company? Small world. Small world, huh? I didn't reply. Not yet. I wanted to let them stew in it. Let the silence echo. By Wednesday the guilt started bleeding into their messages. Mom, we didn't mean to shut you out. Things just got out of hand. Dad, let's talk. Maybe over dinner. Just us. For the first time in months I actually laughed. Dinner? Now they wanted to talk? Now that Aiden had seen what I built? Now that I was no longer just the brother with the weird job? I shut my phone off and went for a walk. The evening air bit at my skin, but I liked it. It felt clean. Honest. Something my family had never been. The next day, Aiden cornered me after our finance meeting. Eli, he said, trying to keep his voice level, can we talk? I looked around. The hallway was empty. I gave him a slight nod and stepped into the side conference room. He closed the door behind us. What is this? He asked, voice tight. Some kind of power trip? I tilted my head. You mean your job? You let me walk into this blind. You knew I was coming. You knew I'd see you. And you said nothing. You're right, I said. I didn't say a word. But tell me something, Aiden, would you have believed me if I had? He didn't answer. Just looked away, jaw clenched. I stepped closer. You all spent years pretending I was small. like I didn't exist. Like the only thing I was good for was paying bills and disappearing into the background. He flinched. Good. That meant it was landing. I continued, softer now. Measured. I let you come here. Not to humiliate you. Not for revenge. But because the truth has its own gravity. It pulls things into place. Eventually. He didn't speak. Just stood there, shoulders tight, like a man holding a grenade without the pin. Then he whispered, Mom's been crying. I looked him dead in the eyes. Good. By the end of the week, the energy had shifted. People noticed. My team treated me the same, respectful, professional, but Aiden? He avoided me like I was radioactive. And the higher-ups? They were starting to whisper. One VP even pulled me aside in the elevator. Hey, she said. You and Prescott, everything good? I nodded. Better than ever. She raised an eyebrow but didn't push. Because no one wanted to touch what they didn't understand. But I understood. I finally understood everything. Friday night, I got a voicemail from my dad. His voice was strained. Eli, your mother's not doing well. Aiden told us about the position. We didn't know. I'm not proud of how we handled things. We were trying to protect the family image. Protect the image? Like I was a stain. A crack in their perfect mirror. That's when I knew this wasn't just about rejection. This was about erasure. They had tried to delete me. Rewrite the family story with one polished son and one ghost. And they almost succeeded. Almost? Monday morning. Overcast skies. The kind of gray that made the whole city look like it had forgotten to wake up. I was in early like always. Reviewing capital burn forecasts and preparing for a board meeting that afternoon. My office was quiet, the kind of stillness I had come to love. Then came the knock. 2 short taps on the glass. My assistant Jordan peeked in. Hey, she said, brows furrowed. HR needs you in conference B. Right now. I looked up. Problem? She hesitated. It's about Aiden. I closed my laptop slowly. My pulse didn't race. My face didn't change. But inside? Something cold began to settle in my chest. Conference room B was sterile, corporate beige. HR Director Lena Chang sat at the far end, fingers interlaced over a manila folder. Beside her, the head of legal, Tom Driscoll, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I nodded as I entered. Morning. Eli, Lena said carefully. Thanks for coming in on short notice. What's going on? She exchanged a glance with Tom, then opened the folder. It's Aiden. He's filed a formal grievance against you. I blinked. I actually blinked. What? She slid a paper across the table. He claims you created a hostile work environment. That you withheld communication, gave him vague instructions, and intentionally embarrassed him during meetings. I stared at the document like it was written in another language. He said you targeted him. That this whole situation was a setup. A setup? The man who once smirked at my existence, who took every compliment like it was air he was entitled to, now wanted to play the victim? My jaw clenched. Tom spoke next, his voice low. We've reviewed some of the footage. Meeting room recordings. There's no evidence of misconduct. But this puts us in a difficult position. Lena leaned in slightly. He's threatening to go public. And there it was. The real threat. This wasn't about work. It was about revenge. Not mine. His. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Not yet. Instead, I let them talk, procedures, investigation timelines, statements. I nodded, signed what I had to, and stood. Before leaving, I turned to Lena. Has he mentioned that I'm his brother? Her eyes widened. No. He hasn't. I gave a small nod. Didn't think so. Back in my office, I closed the door and stared out at the city. Rain had started to fall, light at first, then harder until it turned the windows into blurred watercolor. My mind wasn't racing. It was clarifying. Aiden wasn't just humiliated. He was unraveling. He had built his entire identity on being the one who made it. And now, standing in my shadow, he was desperate to tear me down. Because he couldn't stand the truth. That the one he ignored was the one in charge now. That evening, just past 7 p.m., I was packing up when I saw the notification pop up on my phone. Voicemail, unknown number. I played it without thinking. Eli, it's Camille. I know this is weird. But I didn't know who else to talk to. Aiden's not doing well. He's spiraling. Drinking. Ranting about how everything's a lie. He said you humiliated him on purpose, that you made him look small. I tried to tell him that none of this is your fault, but he won't listen. I think he's going to do something stupid. Please. Just, if there's anything you can do, do it. I sat there, the phone still pressed to my ear, long after the message ended. Camille. The woman they all pushed me aside for. Now calling me for help. Tuesday morning, Aiden showed up to the office. Late. Unshaven. Eyes bloodshot. I called him in. Not as a brother. As his superior. He slouched in the chair across from me, arms folded like a teenager caught shoplifting. I folded my hands. We need to talk. I already filed the report, he snapped. I know. That's not what this is about. He scoffed. I studied him. Really looked. This wasn't the polished, poised version of Aiden our family worshipped. This was a man falling apart because the mirror finally cracked. Aiden, I said, voice calm. Why did you come here? What's that supposed to mean? You could have taken 100 different jobs. You knew this was my company. Why come here? He didn't answer. So I pushed. Because deep down you wanted to see if I was still the weak one. The forgettable one. The one who always paid, always stayed quiet, always stepped aside. He flinched, but I wasn't done. You came here thinking you'd still have the upper hand. But now you report to me. And you can't handle it. He slammed his hand on the desk. You think you're better than me now? No, I said. I think I always was. You just never bothered to look. Silence. He stood up. Face red. Hands shaking. You're not family anymore. I smiled. You said that the day you told Dad I wasn't worth inviting home. He stormed out. And for the first time in my life I felt nothing. Not hurt. Not rage. Just stillness. Later that week legal called. Aiden had withdrawn the complaint. No apology. No explanation. Just silence. But I wasn't surprised. Because deep down, even he knew the truth would bury him faster than any lie could save him. That Friday I received a letter. Handwritten. No return address. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Mom. Eli. I heard about what happened at work. I don't know all the details. Aiden won't say much. But I wanted to say I'm sorry. For not seeing you. For letting things go too far. You've always been the strong one. Maybe that's why we forgot you could still be hurt. I hope it's not too late. Mom. I folded the letter slowly, then set it aside. I wasn't angry anymore. But I wasn't reaching back either. Some bridges don't need to burn. They just need to be abandoned. Aiden quit. No 2 weeks. No explanation. Just a signed letter on my desk one Monday morning and a box of his things missing from the locker by noon. No goodbye. No warning. Not that I needed one. HR confirmed it quietly. He just said it wasn't a good fit. Right. Not a good fit. For someone who couldn't stand answering to the shadow he spent his whole life ignoring. But fine. Let him walk away. I didn't chase ghosts. Weeks passed. The company was growing fast. Faster than expected. We landed 2 more partnerships, including a game-changing deal with a hospital network in California. Late nights, back-to-back meetings, red-eye flights. And through it all, I didn't hear a word from my parents. No apology. No reckoning. Just the usual. Silence wrapped in pride. Until the knock came. I had just wrapped a quarterly briefing when Jordan stepped into my office. Her face was unreadable. There's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent. I frowned. Who? She hesitated. Camille Prescott. When she walked in I almost didn't recognize her. Gone was the polished elegance from holiday photos. No designer heels. No smug smile. Just rain-soaked hair, dark circles and hands fidgeting with the strap of a worn leather bag. Hi Eli, she said. Camille. We stood in silence for a beat. Then she sat down across from me uninvited, but I didn't stop her. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't serious, she said. My expression didn't change. What happened? She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for hours. It's Aiden. He's unraveling. He's been drinking. Sleeping at random hotels. He maxed out a card I didn't even know he still had access to. That sounds like a personal issue, I said flatly. She nodded. I know. But this isn't just about him. She reached into her bag and pulled out a flash drive. Set it gently on the table between us. He's been telling people things, Eli. That you're dangerous. That the company's not legitimate. That the financials are doctored. He's trying to get ahead of whatever revenge he thinks you're planning. I stared at the flash drive. Didn't touch it. I have copies of everything. Emails, texts, even a few voice memos he left drunk at 3 a.m., ranting about how you humiliated him. How he has to take you down before you erase him. My jaw clenched. Camille's voice softened. I thought you should know. Because he's not just hurting himself anymore. He's dragging your name with him. I didn't say anything for a long time. When I finally spoke, my voice came out even and quiet. Why are you really here, Camille? She blinked. What do you mean? You left him. You said so in your voicemail. So why bring me this now? She swallowed hard. Because I've seen enough to know who the real problem is. And it's not you. I leaned back in my chair. You're afraid. She didn't argue. And you think giving me this makes you clean. Still no argument. I picked up the flash drive and turned it in my hand. You said he's trying to burn everything down before I erase him. But Camille, I leaned forward, voice lowering. He was never even written into this story. Not the real one. Her eyes welled up. I didn't feel sorry for her. But I didn't feel cruel either. I just felt done. That night, I went home and played every file. Emails. Recordings. Drunken rants. Wild accusations. Desperate voice memos. All of it. He'd sent files to journalists. Forums. A former professor from undergrad. Trying to plant a seed of doubt. But none of it landed. Because his words weren't damning, they were pathetic. And for the first time, I understood something terrifying. Aiden wasn't trying to destroy me. He was trying to rewrite his own failure. He needed the world to believe I cheated, lied, manipulated my way to success, because if not, then he'd have to face the truth. That he was simply never enough. The next morning I made a decision. No more silence. No more restraint. I called my legal team, briefed them on everything Camille gave me, and began preparing a formal cease and desist with evidence of defamation, breach of employment contracts, and reputational damage. It wasn't about vengeance anymore. It was about drawing a line. That same day, I got a letter. This time hand-delivered. From my father. Eli. Your mother hasn't stopped crying. Aiden's in a bad place. We know things got messy, but don't you think this has gone far enough? Family should stick together. That's what matters. We'd like to talk. Maybe find a way back. I stared at the words like they were a joke. Now they wanted unity? After all the times they told me I was hard to explain. Embarrassing. Better off not showing up. Now, when Aiden was falling apart, they remembered my number. I didn't reply to the letter. I printed it. I added it to a file with every other message they had ignored, minimized, or weaponized over the years. I called a notary. Had the evidence compiled, indexed, and officially recorded. Because if they wanted to play this like a family, I'd answer like a CEO. That weekend, my phone buzzed at 2:13 a.m. A voicemail. Aiden's voice. You win, Eli. Happy? You always wanted to be the one in charge. Well, congrats. You got it. I'm done. You won't hear from me again. I stared at the screen. Didn't play it again. Didn't save it either. Just deleted it. Because I knew it wasn't over. People like Aiden don't go quietly. They fade. Slowly. Bitterly. Until the only person left to blame is themselves. It was a Thursday evening when the knock came. Not at the office. At home. 8:46 p.m. The sun had just dipped beneath the skyline, the streetlights barely flickering on. I opened the door. My father stood there. Same sharp coat. Same immovable eyes. Like nothing ever touched him, even when it shattered everyone else. But this time there was something different. A tremble in the corner of his mouth. A hesitation in his shoulders. A man who no longer knew how to hide the cracks. Can we talk? He asked. I stepped aside without a word. He sat down in the same chair I used to read in as a kid, back when I still thought family meant protection, not politics. I sat across from him. Said nothing. He reached into his coat and handed me a folder. Your brother's in rehab, he said. Checked himself in last night. I didn't flinch. Didn't blink. He left this for you. I opened the folder slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter. Neat. Clean. Intentional. Eli. I've hated you for a long time. Not because of what you did, but because of what you didn't need. You didn't need approval. You didn't need applause. And somehow, you still built everything. I spent years thinking I was the better son. The one they'd always love more. And maybe that was true. But they never respected me the way they feared disappointing you. I see that now. I blamed you because I couldn't blame myself. I'm sorry. I hope someday you'll find peace with all of this. I'm still looking for mine. Aiden. I read the letter once. Then again. I didn't cry. I didn't clench my jaw. I didn't feel anything. Because sometimes closure doesn't come with emotion. Sometimes it comes as confirmation. My father stood, watching me carefully. Your mother wants to see you, he said. I raised an eyebrow. Now? She's trying, he said quietly. I stared at him for a long moment. So am I. He looked down. Not like he was ashamed, more like he finally realized I wasn't bending anymore. Are you happy now? He asked. The question was quiet, but pointed. I leaned back in my chair and took a breath. No, I said. But I'm free. A week later, I signed off on a press release. Our company was launching a new branch, focused on genetic data accessibility in low-income communities. The kind of project that no one believed in when we started. Now it was backed by 3 major hospitals and 2 international research firms. I was scheduled to speak at the launch event. Press, industry insiders, university heads, people who once laughed when I showed up to panels with coffee-stained notebooks and too many ideas. I stood behind the podium, looked into the sea of lights and cameras, and I told them everything. Not about Aiden. Not about the family. About the mission. The work. The pain behind the innovation. The reason why people like me don't just build companies, we build escape routes. So the next kid who grows up being told they are hard to introduce doesn't have to wait a decade to prove they were never the problem. After the event, Camille approached me quietly in the crowd. I heard about the rehab, she said. I nodded. I'm sorry, she added. For everything. You were a piece, I said. But not the whole. She looked like she wanted to say more, but didn't. I appreciated that. Some stories are better left closed. 2 months later, a package arrived at my office. No name. Just a white box with a single item inside. A small ceramic figurine. A boy on a stool reaching for a star on a bookshelf. I recognized it immediately. My mom used to keep it on the fireplace mantel. Said it reminded her of me, always reaching too high. I set it down on my desk facing the window. Didn't text. Didn't call. But I left it there. Not as forgiveness. As proof. I don't know what happened to Aiden after rehab. I didn't check. Didn't ask. Because his story doesn't define mine. Because mine started the moment I stopped begging to be invited in and started building a world where they couldn't ignore me anymore. Now, I wake up at 5:30. Espresso. Morning walk. Emails. The skyline doesn't feel so far away anymore. My name's on patents now. On buildings. On whispers that used to doubt me. Sometimes people say, but they're still your family. And I say that depends on what you think family's supposed to do. Because if family is supposed to love you even when they don't understand you, then maybe I never had one. And if family is supposed to make you feel small until you shrink into a version of yourself they can control, then I chose to leave mine behind. Not with hate. Not with fire. With truth. And sometimes truth is the cleanest revenge of all.